Hey, how's it going? It's Jay from JCast Omniscience, and I wanted to talk about some of these Marvel commanders that are going to be coming out soon. And if you're wondering what gives me the qualifications to be doing so, I can solve a Rubik's Cube underneath a minute. I know this one isn't solved, but trust me, I should probably know it. Uh-oh, my mic's falling. Alright, so we're going to put these commanders into two different categories. We're going to have awesome, and then we're going to have sick, but not for me. I don't know if you've ever heard that acronym KISS, but it's keep investment staggered sporadically. And then my therapist also said there's another version of it, and it's keep it simple stupid. So the first card that I thought was pretty cool in the way of commanders was Ultron Artificial Malevolence. It's a 3-cost legendary artifact creature, robot villain. Whenever a non-token artifact you control enters, you may pay 2 generic. If you do, create a token that's a copy of it. If the token isn't a creature, it becomes a 2/2 robot villain creature in addition to its other types. So there are a lot of artifact commanders that like almost interest me, but just aren't able to kind of like push me over the edge.
No, we're talking about sexual harassment here.
To like really want to build it, but this one is something that I really might have to invest in. Cause yeah, this card is basically mirror works on a stick, but it also makes you bodies, which is super cool. I guess the one drawback, is that if you're making artifact creatures, you're not going to be able to tap things right away, but you can kind of get around that by either copying stuff on other people's turns and or having some cards like Vidalcan Ori in play. This bird chirps every morning. Guess I could close the window.
No, we're talking about sexual harassment here.
But with this deck, I think you get to play around with a lot of cool cards like Mirror of the Forebears, Mirror Gallery, Mirror Box, Mirror Mirage, Mirage Mirror. And I think what I would probably do for some type of win con when it comes to this deck is just honestly find something to just stack a bunch of +1/+1 counters and then use the, what is it, Sarah Seer or something like that, that puts a +1/+1 counter. I'll put it up on the screen on each artifact creature you control, and then just try to like basically wipe people out with a bunch of artifact tokens. Maybe mirrors. I like mirrors. But this one for me personally goes into the awesome category. So, you know, throw that graphic on the screen or whatever I'm going to do in the future me. Then we have Tony Stark, who is a legendary creature, human artificer hero, costs 1 and a blue. If you pay 1 and tap him, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Transform Tony Stark, and when we flip this bad boy, graphic, the Invincible Iron Man. He's a legendary artifact creature, human hero, flying, haste, and at the beginning of combat on your turn, you may put an artifact from your hand onto the battlefield. Who doesn't like a little free casting? And if it's an equipment, attach it to the Invincible Iron Man. This is going to be a really scary Voltron deck. I wonder what cards would probably fit the theme most for just having like the blaster in the center of the chest. I'm not entirely sure. But someone's gonna do it, and I'm gonna hate it, and I'm gonna get blasted like I did in Fortnite, and that power was very relevant. Oh my God. And I mean, I feel like the win con of this kind of deck would be very much play a lot of equipments, punch the absolute living out of people. Oh, but this one is in sick, but not personally for me. For some reason, there's just like, can't seem to finish.
Sexual harassment.
When it comes to Izzet decks, I can't seem to just like really get there and knock everyone else out. I can make an impact on the game, but I haven't been able to really win with any consistency. Let's move on. Next, we have the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. Forgive the sweat, it's very hot where I am. The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl costs 1 generic, green, and, you guessed it, green. Legendary creature, squirrel human hero. Do you like squirrels? Whenever the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl enters or attacks, create a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. And then her secondary ability, I love squirrels. 1 green, create X 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens, where X is the number of squirrels you control, which I love this type of stuff, where it's just like, hey, create a big board by making a big Voltron-y thing that can punch people, you got a lot of blockers, or just overwhelm people after you knock one person out with your super big squirrel girl. What a sentence. But this one goes in the awesome category for me. Same with what I said, basically just go wide and then make her super big and then just punch the ever-living crap out of people. We're here to eat nuts and kick butts. That is a great flavor text. Okay, I did make a video specifically about this card, and this card is what made me start a YouTube channel because what the f is this bullshit? The Serpent Society costs 1, a green, and a black. So 1 in Golgari is what I could have said, but whatever. We're keeping it. We're keeping it. Death Touch and Ward get 5 poison counters, because whenever another creature you control with Death Touch dies, each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature of their choice. The win con is, Infect. Infect, fill this deck with every single creature being a Death Touch creature, which kind of is my Marin deck, which is why this card is going to be going in there. But just make your commander a problem on purpose and just ramp out. Use things like Insidious Roots, or what is it? Spring Heart. I'll put it on the screen, graphic. But just make your tokens tap for mana. Why not? That's always awesome to do. I like making big mana. Then just slap stupid things onto your commander and make sure it never has hexproof. Make sure people are like having to deal with it. And then just proliferate the crap out of any poison counters that you give to people. On top of, like, you could probably do some pretty fun populate effects on that too. It's another creature you control, so just make a bunch of tokens. It doesn't matter. Yeah, they're sacrificing non-creature tokens, so if you're playing against another token deck, yeah, whatever, you gotta deal with them. But also make sure all your stuff has Death Touch. Maybe throw in a Bow of Nylea, maybe throw in a Aurust Frostfang or whatever that is, or the Architect of something, again on the screen. Future me so much smarter than present me. But yeah, that's the win con. Honestly goes in the sick but not for me category, because it's okay, I'm spilling things. It goes in the sick but not for me category because I'm not gonna play this in a pod. I think if I ran into it in the wild, I wouldn't say it's degenerate. If anything, it's like, just don't touch my commander, make sure you counter it. There are cards that remove poison counters, not many, but there are some. The next one, the Astonishing Ant-Man. This one I'm super excited about. One of my favorite decks that I have right now is a Simic tokens deck. It's like a treasure deck. I very much enjoy tokens is what I'm saying. So it's a legendary creature that human scientist hero. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on the Astonishing Ant-Man. 2 generic and a green. Tap that old bad boy. Remove any number of +1/+1 counters from the Astonishing Ant-Man and create that many 1/1 green insect creature tokens. I love things that just reward you for putting those +1/+1 counters on them in the first place. That's why Death's Presence is one of my favorite cards. It costs 6, like it's a pretty expensive spell, but it only costs $1, and I pretty much throw it into any deck that deals with +1/+1 counters and has green in it, because it gives me a reason to just stack things onto creatures and not worry as much if things die, especially to Death Touch or things like that. And if I have Trample, even better. But then I get to reallocate all of those +1/+1 counters onto a different creature, so it doesn't feel like wasted effort and wasted resources. Go super wide and give them all this crazy type of evasion. I don't know if there is a bunch of things that give things menace in green and blue, but I would definitely try to stuff those in there if that's on an artifact or something like that. Obviously you could do stuff like put your doubling seasons in there, because it works for literally the first part and the second part. Create tokens, make additional counters. You basically win by going wide and going high at the same time and punching people's skulls in. This one goes in the awesome category for me. And then we have Super Scroll, which I'll just start out and say it's sick, but not for me. We basically get Marvel Kenrith. You get to draw a bunch of cards, you get to deal 4 damage to creatures. Super Scroll gets +4/+4, you can buff him, and then you create some walls with Defender. And he's flying, which is cool. Another way to just like get there, because you pump green in 3. And then he can get super big. You might be able to knock a player out pretty early with this. I mean, the 3 pip on black I think is another way to kind of slow it down, but overall still a pretty good card. This card is so sick. I want to build this deck. I want to build this deck so bad. What I'm afraid of is how expensive it's gonna be.
I know math is hard when you're an idiot, but like, if you're a broke boy, just say so.
This is Shang-Chi, Master of Kung Fu, 1 generic and a green. Legendary creature, human warrior hero. Human warrior hero. You may activate abilities of creatures you control as though those creatures had haste. and then you can tap it, add 2 mana of any one color, and spend this mana only to activate abilities of creature sources, which is perfect because if this is your commander, that's going to be mono green, so that one color doesn't set you back any. You may activate abilities of creatures you control as though creatures had haste, which means you can do your commander's ability right away, which is always super cool. I love when the commander's ability stacks with whatever it's actually doing, because there are a lot of cards that say, your commander does this, and then like other creatures outside of your commander do this. This isn't one of those situations. I love how low the cost is, and also it just gives love to activated abilities, because not that it doesn't have a lot of support to begin with, but I feel like I don't really see people use activated abilities as much as they should. A lot of it is just kind of enters or dies, that or attacks, that kind of thing. Monica Rambeau. So I think my least played colors are definitely white and red. White and red together has interested me, but I have not found a Boros commander that has made me want to build it. But this one might be it. So Monica Rambeau, flying and prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 till end of turn. That by itself is like cool. Again, I love a commander that flies, just getting there. Prowess, I'm iffy about, but I think it's because I've never played Jeskai, and I've never been one for just a bunch of little spells. Like I love big, splashy, stupid spells.
Villainous Wealth, X's 200. Spore Frog, Marin Loop. Old Robin and Shieldred, enter. Mirror Gallery, Garuda, Doubling Season, Rite of Replication Kit.
You can transform her for red, white, and 2, and then Photon Living Light. And this back part of the card is what really excited me. Flying, hexproof, nice, and prowess. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control. So previous to what I said before, where it kind of targets things outside of your commander. So she's not necessarily going to be getting bigger long term, but you get to pump your entire board essentially, which I'm super into. For me, I feel like the win con for that is exactly that. You just create a lot of little creature tokens, whether it's monks, whether it's soldiers, maybe things with lifelink, to be honest. Maybe play into that lifelink aspect and maybe use that to your advantage in terms of pumping creatures whenever you gain life. Things of that nature. Not for me, but it's a possibility. We'll see. Mole Man, Moloid Master, Moloid Master? Mole Man, Moloid Master. You may play lands from your graveyard, which is awesome. This is going to be an auto include for some of my green stuff where I need to fill up my graveyard. Mimeoplasm or my Marin deck. Whenever a land you control enters, create a 1/1 green minion creature token named Moloid. Whenever this token attacks, you may mill a card. So bodies, it incentivizes you to attack, which I think is super great. As a Magic player, I've been trying to attack more and not just fill a fort and build my board. If you know me, don't, but in my friend group, they knew me to be the person who would just play a bunch of stuff, omniscience, and then basically dump my entire board on the table and say, deal with me. I don't want to be that player anymore because it's boring. Fishing for the win by playing your entire deck is only fun so many times. Like I want to be a little bit more focused. So whenever a land enters, create a 1/1. So I love landfall mono green deck. I could do stuff like Azusa or Loot. Just getting as many of those as possible. Basically how I think I would win with this deck is not really going wide, but just doing stuff where I'm able to fetch stuff from my graveyard and saying like, oh, put this onto the battlefield. Black has a lot more of that, but I do then think that there's enough support in green and maybe some artifacts you could find that can make that viable. King T'Challa. For some context, I did see Black Panther in theaters 4 times. I was so inspired by that movie that when I saw that there was a Black Panther commander, I made a landfall deck that was pretty cool, pretty successful. I have torn it apart. It was very tinkery in a way that I didn't enjoy. Like it was one of those things where I was just turning 20 or so knobs to really only do like a few things, and it like felt cool, but the turns were really long, and in a 4-pot it was just too much. But anyway, it has flash, which is sick. Whenever a player draws their second card each to flash out of the command zone. Yeah, that's really sick. I've never had a commander that does that. Whenever a player draws their second card each turn, you draw a card. So that's great. Hey, you help everyone draw, kind of like Nekusar, except I'm not burning you for each draw, but when you draw your second card, I draw another card. then you draw nothing, I draw nothing. I guess you wouldn't net too much off of that considering, but you could also play into it, right? So whenever a player draws a card, what's your consecrated sphinxes? You could basically penalize people with artifacts that ping people for each draw. Kind of like Nekusar.
Except I'm not burning you for each draw.
Black Panther, Hope Enduring. Flash, which I don't necessarily know how that works when you're flipping it, but... Oh, because you can just do that at any point from the other side of the card. Flash, Double Strike, which great, effectively makes you a 6/6. Prevents all damage that would be dealt to Black Panther, which is a cool way to block with him if need be. When Black Panther deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. It says draw a card on both sides, and I know I sound like Josh Lee Kwai. I do love drawing a card. As soon as I moved away from Izzet, which was my first commander deck, I had so many issues with draw, and that was the pitfall of so many decks I had. I think I maybe would have like a few cards that would draw me cards constantly, and I'd be like, okay, I have like 4 cards that say whenever you do this, or at the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card, and that's enough. But I like this. Azorius, again, is not a color that I'm super into, but this one again promotes combat, so I'm trying to be a more combat oriented player. This could be a way to push me into it while playing with blue and white colors that I'm not super familiar with together. This card goes in the awesome category. All right, Kang the Conqueror. Legendary creature, human villain, flying, power up. I am honestly more concerned, and I don't play like pre-releases and stuff like that. This must suck in any other format. Like, paying 8 to put a +1/+1 counter on him? Yeah, you take an extra turn and whatever, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know how I would build a deck around this, because literally it's built into the text, take extra turns. Like when you're explaining this deck to someone, it's like, hey, so this is what my commander does. And it's like, oh, so you're going to be taking extra turns. Yes. There a Nexus of Fate in there? Yes. Okay. Time Warp in there? Yes. Mind's Desire in there, so when you're storming off? Probably. I'd be honestly disappointed if it didn't, but also disappointed if it happened to me. You win, sir. This card is awesome, but it may not be for all play groups. Flying, it's cool that it's a 4/5 that can get you there. I was also thinking about this could be a good card to include in the Azorius commander, where if you attack and then deal combat damage that you get extra turns. So for any extra turn people out there, which I would say I take a few extra turns here and there. I have a few decks with a few extra turn capabilities. You're gonna get to 8 mana super easy in Commander. You can do it right away, which is sick, which I get is like what? Hold on, let me do math. Yeah, that's like 14, sorry, 12 mana outright to do it. But again, if you like extra turns, it's probably for you. Next, we have Jennifer Walters, which is one of my favorite Fortnite skins that my friends and I used. Your opponents can cast spells during your turn, a little bit of that Dramoka energy. Transform her, only as a sorcery. And then she's, hitting that sensational She-Hulk pose. Legendary creature, Gamma hero, reach, trample. Oh, she's got hella reach. Your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. Hell yeah. And then whenever a creature you control is dealt damage, you may have the sensational She-Hulk deal that much damage to any target, brother. Do this only once each turn, brother. Also, the bicep pose is just legendary. Fucking, yup. Ready for show. Ready for show. Ugh, muscle mommies for the win.
I love you too. Oh my god, I've been dying to say that.
Oh, sorry. And Jennifer Walters is awesome. All right, Bruce Banner. This one is brutal. So the 1-drop is crazy, but it also makes sense because, you know, the double X cost to draw cards, activating only as a sorcery. So it's like you're not going to really be able to draw more than 1 card after dropping him. So I was thinking about why I said that, and I think it's because I would want to be playing spells instead of using the mana from the point I dropped Bruce for 1 blue to the point that I actually transform him, rather than spending that mana into the X cost to draw cards. I'm also already in blue, so I could probably passively draw cards off of certain spells anyway, but I'm sure that this is considered more of a finisher than it is something that needs an engine going for it to be effective, considering the fact that it doesn't really do much else unless you're punching for a lot. So, I don't know. I think that was kind of my thought process behind it. Transform Bruce Banner into the Incredible Hulk, which is such a tone shift from the art that we had on the card before, but whatever. The Incredible, I mean, it's cool. The Incredible Hulk. He has reach and trample because of course he does, because he can jump into the sky. He has enrage because he's like a dinosaur apparently. And whenever the Incredible Hulk is dealt damage, put a +1/+1 counter on him. If he's attacking, untap him, and there's an additional combat phase after this one. So just like ping him. Just ping him with stuff. If you have little things that can deal 1 damage to any target, like that's just passively happening, just do that. Just do that. Well, I guess they would also have to be at instant speed, so artifacts and whatnot. But maybe if it's like you cast it and let's see, is dealt damage if he's attacking, instants and or artifacts, instant speed. I'm wondering what the color spread would look like for most of the decks that are really optimized with this, and like how much blue is actually in this deck. I'm assuming that a lot of it will come through things like Biden of Thassa and cards that really benefit you for combat and dealing damage. Also wondering like what ways that people will use to get through, giving him menace or honestly creating copies of him that aren't I might build this. I might have to build this because I would just make so many copies of him. That's so gross. That's so gross. He goes in the awesome category if you didn't already think that. So those are all the commanders that I thought were pretty cool with this new Marvel set that's going to be coming up. I know a lot of people have a lot of feelings about Marvel and just Universe Beyond in general. Yes, I will say what I think is if it gets people into the game, sure. Yeah, it sucks that in certain ways that you can't like really doctor, I guess, or you can't really control how it interacts with you. For example, you could be in a pod where someone's playing with 98% just Magic the Gathering cards, and then the other 2% are their Universe Beyonds, and you're getting attacked by SpongeBob, and that's weird. It's definitely weird, but also at the same time, that's your opportunity to say, hey, like that's a really cool card that you got there in the way of that Universe Beyond card. There's another card like this from the Urza set that does something pretty similar. Just really nurturing that. I know for some people, that's not what they want to be doing. Not everyone's a teacher type. Not everybody is trying to really get people to tech their decks in a certain way. And also don't do it out of, you know, malicious intent either. You know what I mean? Don't just be like, oh, hey, like, you need to play this other card because blah, blah, blah. Like if people like the cards, they like the cards, right? Just be happy that it got somebody into the game. And yeah, if it bugs you so much, I guess you just have to let people know, hey, I don't really like playing with Universe Beyond cards. Is your deck mostly Universe Beyond? It just kind of takes me out of my immersion. You're well within your right to do that. Like that's totally fine. I just can't really imagine caring about that too much. But I remember I had my Miles Morales deck, which like I use Universe Beyond cards, like I do, but it is very minimal in whatever decks that I do use them in. But I do have a deck that's dedicated towards that. So it's my Miles Morales Spider deck that's pretty strong. That's a Naya beatdown deck. I was swinging at someone with Miles Morales being like a 62/62, double strike, lifelink, menace, and other stuff. Basically, someone's like, oh man, I'm not gonna die to Spider-Man, and just starts going super hard, digging into resources to make it not happen, which I ended up killing him anyway. But it was just like, hey man, like it's just a game, like it's whatever, it's cardboard. Like there's a lot of like things to be upset about in the way of this Universe Beyond stuff that I think has more to do with like the efficacy of how they're rolling stuff out over at Wizards, how often the sets are happening, and what we're being told versus what's actually happening. I don't know, I'm happy because like, for example, my girlfriend loves Avatar: The Last Airbender, and the fact that they came out with the set has gotten her into Magic in a way that I've never seen her get into it in the 10, 12, however many years we've been together. Like, she's played Magic and she's had a bunch of different decks. A bunch of them are over there. She's had Naya beatdown decks, she's had mono blue decks, she's had Golgari decks, but nothing like this 5-color Aang deck has made her lock in as much as I don't know, Universe Beyond, I think it's a blessing. I think there's a lot of issues with it, but let's like nurture all the new players that are coming in. I think it's definitely worth it because seeing the light like shine behind someone's eyes when there's, oh, this character that I grew up with, it's pretty cool. And for them to also have the feeling of, I understand the way that this character works because of the show, and I understand like the mechanics in Magic through that. It's just like so cool, like once in a lifetime opportunity. So anyway, that's it for me. J-Cast Omniscience. Hey, what's up? This has been JCast Omniscience. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I mean, you probably did if you made it this far. That or you're asleep, so those are kind of the possibilities, I guess. But yeah, I'd love to just keep making silly videos, have a good time, chit-chat with people who like Magic. Magic the Gathering has been a really cool thing for me in my life, and I've also been teaching it to youth as of late, and that's been a really rewarding experience. So being able to talk about the game and share it with people is something that's really important to me, and if you want to join me on that journey, feel free to subscribe or hype, because that's like the new thing. I don't know if that actually does a goddamn thing. But anyway, thanks for watching. JCast Omniscience. I'm out.